All right, today we're talking about hand tools. Let's go. So it's your first day at Kalin Mechanical, and these are all the hand tools that we will have for you ready to go on your first day. And I'm going to show you, tell you what they're called, and show you the basics on how you use everything. All right, let's load your tool belt. These are called reds, and they are for cutting straight or left. And if you're right-handed, you're going to put these on the right side of your tool belt. Greens, same thing, opposite of reds, so they cut to the right or straight. Also on the right side if you're right-handed. These are called crimpers. They are for crimping the end of a pipe so that it'll go inside of another piece. And these will go on the left side. Hand seamers for making small bends, like for tabs or anything else that you need to bend or straighten. Also on the left side, hammer. I think everybody probably knows what a hammer is for. And this goes on the back. So on the back of your belt, you'll have two loops. And I put that in the wrong one. These are snips for cutting straight sheets of metal or round pipe or anything a little bit bigger. They're faster than reds and greens, but they will only cut in a straight line. These go on the back. Then we've got wire strippers and cutters for cutting and stripping thermostat wire. These go on the right side with your reds and greens. This is a flathead screwdriver, but we call it a beater. We use it mostly with our hammers, knocking holes in duct to be able to use our reds and greens to cut it out. Right side, reds and greens. This is a 6-way screwdriver, so it's got a Phillips and a flathead on both sides, so a big one and a small one. And it's also a 1/4 inch and 5/16 nut driver. Right side, this is a level for making sure all your work is straight and level. Left side by my seamers and crimpers. This is a razor knife for opening boxes and cutting bubble wrap for attic systems. Right side. Tape measure for measuring everything, measuring round pipe, anything that we measure, cutting holes in floors, everything. Don't eyeball, use your tape measure. I just hooked that on the outside of my bags so that's easy to grab with my right hand because I'm right-handed. Marker for marking metal, everything that you're going to cut with and mark with your tape measure. And then we've got screws. So we have 3 different sizes of screws, and then we have nails, panning nails. I put my short screws in my back pocket. So I have my short screws and then my 1-inch screws. 2-inch screws I put in a pocket that I don't use as much because we're not using those as much. And then these are panning nails. So we'll use those for nailing in metal panning and our heat run boots to the floors. Your tool belt's going to be a little bit different than mine. You'll have a bigger pocket on this side, and that's where you'll put all your panning nails. So these short screws and these 1-inchers, the short screws you'll use when you're screwing metal to metal. So when you're doing a heat run and you're screwing 2 pieces of round pipe together, you'll use these short screws. Anytime we're screwing in like hangers or metal to wood framing, you'll use a 1-inch screw. The 2-inch screws are mainly for screwing the coil on top of the furnace, the coil into the furnace. Okay, we're going to cover a couple different tools right here with this one piece of duct. I'm going to use my tape measure to mark this piece of duct, the center of my hole, and then I'm going to trace this circle 90 on the inside. Now we'll use our beater and our hammer to knock a hole in this so that we can get our reds or greens in to cut this hole out. So I'm right-handed. If you're right-handed, you're going to use your reds like 90% of the time. There's certain times where it's in a tight spot or something where you'll have to use your greens to go the other way, but your reds will cut to the left. So your reds go that way. It's like impossible to cut a circle going the other way with these. So if I need to go the other way, or this is in a tight spot or something, I'll use my greens, and those will cut the other way. And like I said, if you're right-handed, you'll use your reds most of the time. Another thing, when you're using these, reds or greens, they're the same. They should kind of lay to the side like this. I see some guys trying to cut like this, and it just makes it really hard to get through and makes your cut all jagged. So these should almost be on an angle like that. These are a couple other things that you're going to see on your first day. First off, this is called an S-cleat. So you can see that it kind of looks like an S. We use these in a couple different ways. They're used to attach two pieces of ductwork together. So there would be an S on the top and the bottom, and then the next piece slides in. We also use these in joist spaces to support our heat runs underneath them. See the heat run video. This is called a drive. So what this is doing is it's attaching two pieces of ductwork together on the side. So the S's go on the long sides. The drives, there would be a bend right here, and the drive slides in between to attach the two pieces of duct. And then this is a plaster stop. We use these to frame out our return air openings so that the sheetrock. Okay, now we're going to look at our seamers. So these have a lot of uses. You'll kind of use them to pinch pieces of metal together, but the main use is just to bend little pieces like this by hand. So you can bend that and then pinch it together like that. All right, moving on to our snips. There's mainly two different purposes for these, cutting round pipe and then cutting flat metal. So I'll show you how to cut this. So when I do that, you want to make sure that you're kind of pulling up on this back side. I'll cut another one. That backside will kind of ride up your snips, but you want to make sure I'm using my leg to hold that backside up. It makes these a lot easier to cut through that like that. And then the next thing that you're going to use these for is flat sheets of metal. So there's two different ways to mark this. I'm going to show you the way that you'll probably have to do it on your first day until you get used to using a tape measure and a marker. So I'm just going to mark this. And then we'll use something as a straight edge. So an S-cleat or a drive is good for this. So I'll just make sure this line is straight and then trace down it with my marker. The other more advanced way that you'll start to learn and pick up as you've done this for a little bit is you set your tape measure at what you want to cut it at, and then I'm going to hook so I want the metal up off the ground, and then I'm going to hook my end of my tape measure so that it can slide like that, and I'm just going to put my marker right on the end of it and then pull it towards me. Now to cut these, kind of the same thing. So you want to hold this up with your left hand, or right hand if you're left-handed, and then same thing, just kind of pull up on this side as you're cutting and then let that side fall. One more time. Okay, now we're going to go over crimpers. I've got these two pieces of pipe. I'm going to put this one together. Now if I had to put these two pieces of pipe together, they're the same size and they won't overlap each other. So we're going to use our crimpers. So your crimpers will have 3 teeth on one side and 2 on the other. The side with 2 is the top. So you want to make sure that that's the side that's on the top. And what this is doing, and you can leave about a width in between each crimp. You don't need to go right tight to every one like that. So I'm just going to crimp all the way around this, and now these two pieces of pipe can be screwed together and taped. Okay, this tool is called a Wilson. It's a truck tool. Your crew lead will have this tool. So this is for folding metal, and it has 2 different sizes. So we have the small, which is a 1/2 inch bend, and then the bigger side is a 1 inch bend. And so we'll just show you what this does. When you're using the Wilson, when you're doing bends like this, make sure that you're pushing down tight. We want this bend as tight as we can get it. So I'm pushing down, and then I'm going to squeeze it tight on the back side. So this would be like a drive bend where two pieces of duct are going to attach together. So this drive would slide in like that. And so we want this bend to be as tight as possible. Just makes it a lot easier going together. So that's the small side of the Wilson, and then we have the 1-inch bend side. Same thing, make sure it's pushed all the way in tight, and then I'm going to push with my thumbs to get that tight. And then if I was bending this, most of the time you're not bending a 1-inch bend all the way over, so I'll just grab that and make sure that's a nice tight 90-degree angle. Okay, lastly, you'll have a couple of drills. You'll have an impact and a drill. When you're newer, you're mainly going to use just your impact, mostly. Really the only thing that you'll be using your big drill for is with a drill bit like this to drill like thermostat wires down the wall and to be able to run the thermostat wire to the furnace. Otherwise, we're using these for like 2-inch, 3-inch holes for line sets or gas lines or whatever. But you'll mainly be using this one. So when you get this, you'll have a 1/4-inch chuck. That's what size our screws are. So those are 1/4 by 1/2. These are 1/4 by 1, and then 1/4 by 2. So like I said earlier, the short screws you're going to use when you're screwing metal to metal. So this, on a heat run, you would put 3 screws and tape in this, but this is when you're going to use your short screws. And then your 1-inch screws would be like putting up a hanger for a piece of duct, where you're screwing metal into wood, into framing. All right, now you know what's in your tool belt and how to use it. Let's get to work.